Hey everyone, welcome to the bonus video recap episode. This is where Aaron and I are going to discuss the first 3 episodes in hopes of clarifying a couple terms and a few names that our guests have mentioned, and also just to discuss some of the things that we found important or interesting. There's no edits in this episode. We're totally embracing whatever awkward lulls and tangents we go off on. The cool thing about this episode is that we shot it using a 360 camera, so you can pan around the garage here and pick who you want to look at. One other thing, this video was originally half of a test, and we learned that 360 cameras don't last too long when you're recording a long continuous clip. We're going to fix that, but you can hear the full-length episode along with many other episodes by clicking this QR code right here. So please subscribe and spread the word. All right, enough all this. Please enjoy this recap episode of 1 through 3 on the Scene Change YouTube channel.
Hey world, this is the first recap for Scene Change. We are going over 3 episodes, the first 3 episodes, 1 through 3. We're going to recap them in our own words because we really enjoyed recording them, and we want to appreciate and talk about how many great things we were able to discuss, and maybe spell out a few of the wonky terms that come up, things that are like really confusing to the average person who might not know anything about film and TV. So we're going to try to talk about things like flashing a mag, terms that we just throw out there that are just like completely confusing to anybody who's not familiar with film and television, and maybe try to make it a little bit more accessible. Yeah. But also talk about our guests and the people that were so inspiring and interesting.
Let's start by saying, but even before episode 1, this is our first podcast. We've never done this before, and it's a learning experience.
This is our first podcast. We're not really sure what we're supposed to be doing during live type recordings, and how we're to behave and where to talk into or what to look at or any of it.
No, but it's been a really fun experience, and I think the lessons that we've learned, which I don't think are really big lessons. I mean, these are small hiccups, but my wife, and I think your wife also said, like, hey, episode 1 was great, but I don't know what flashing a mag means. Or even if they do, they're like, you're going through these stories and you're dropping these names and your listener doesn't know who these are. Right. So we're going to treat these recaps of like a way to clear up some of those questions. Also, this is a good time to say, hey, if you do have a question or if you have a guest recommendation or a comment of any sort, you can go to our Instagram and DM us.
Comment on this stuff. Talk about how, wrinkly our shirts are or whatever. Anything.
Or how Aaron's jacket is always making a rustling sound through the recording.
It's actually me doing that. I'm just going just trying to see if people can pick out the difference. Right? Yeah. Clothing sound versus mouth sound.
Yeah. Are you paying attention?
Can you tell the difference?
Yeah.
Actually, what's cool about this recap thing is that we have made these episodes pretty short so that we can kind of make them digestible and easy to listen to when you're kind of in between things or whatever. But this, we're just going to kind of take our time. We're not trying to be uber concise or just like, really to the point. We're gonna take our time to talk about some of this stuff casually and actually be able to, reflect on some of the really inspiring people that we're interviewing. I mean, it's been kind of an amazing blessing just being able to talk to so many different people in a short amount of time so far, and get to learn all their stories and learn, their different approaches to things that may be familiar to us, or their similar approaches to things that are really, new to us too.
Yeah. And did you say this already? We're doing this, this isn't live, but we're not going to edit this. We're going to just kind of go through it and we won't stumble through it, but
Well, there's going to be problems.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're gonna. Yeah, it's true. That's true.
But we're gonna work. We're gonna work through it. Obviously. So today it's time for a recap. Wanted to get that in there. Okay, but it's time for a recap. We're gonna talk about the first 3 episodes that we aired. The first one is called Climbing the Loader Ladder. It's about loading, and that I don't remember if we really got to spell out specifically, like with a definition, what is a loader, a film loader, or what's the difference between a digital loader and a film loader. We obviously went through a lot of those details, but maybe Danny, do you want to just describe what a loader does?
Yeah, so the loader is a position in the camera department. Lots of different departments on a movie set. Camera is one of them. Grip is another. Electric is another. Hair, makeup, all those departments. And then, the list goes on and on. But within the camera department, one of the, I don't want to say the bottom of the rung, but I guess a starting position in the camera department is the loader. And that person is in charge of putting film in the film magazines, which is the big bubble thing.
What's a magazine? Like you know the old pages that you flip through, right? Mm-hmm, like just a bunch of pictures and advertisements.
You just got to keep those magazines filled with pictures.
Different kind of magazine.
Yeah. No, you put the film, the roll of film in a mag. It's like a bubbly briefcase, and it clicks into the top of the camera, and then the camera takes the film and it feeds it through and then exposes an image onto the film.
And the digital equivalent of that is now basically like an SD card, right? It's like a little chip that you put into the camera.
I don't know why people say chip, because it's not chip. It's
got
hard
chips
drive.
in it.
It's a hard drive, right?
It's a hard, yeah.
And
solid state, right?
So yeah, a modern day camera now is recording a digital file to a hard drive.
So the process is super different, because it used to be thousands of feet of plastic that you have to put into this bubbly briefcase. Mm-hmm. And instead now Sony puts the thousands of digits into a card for us.
Yep.
And we basically do that same process of reloading with a digital version of the magazine.
Right. With film, you have to do that in the dark room, which is the dark room on a set.
It's literally dark. It's got to be pitch black, right?
It's a pitch black room in the camera truck. So you go in there, you close the door, you lock it, you turn the little light on that has a red light on the outside of it, telling everyone that you're in there with exposed film. You know.
What does exposed film mean, Danny?
Exposed is the.
Exposed to what?
Exposed to the light that is going through the lens.
Right.
Which is projecting an image onto the film.
Yeah. Yeah. So threading the camera means...
Man, you're like, this is a test.
Yeah, dude. Come on. You can do this. Come on.
Well, the loader's not threading the camera.
No. But that was something that K2 said. She said threading the camera. So, I was like, that's a good term. What does that mean, threading the camera? It's like making a quilt out of a camera?
The camera has what's called a movement, and it's a really highly technical apparatus with a claw that the claw actually is inserted into those little perfs on the side of films, those little squares. And that claw pulls it down in between the time where the shutter on the camera is not allowing light in, so that by the time the shutter then opens up, it will have exposed. It is allowing light in and exposing an image onto that frame, and
it does it 24 times every second, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like,
and it's just
wildly fast. You can't see it. Yeah.
And yeah, that's what.
You got to thread the film into the camera, right?
And you have to thread the You have to thread the film through the camera and through that movement. It has a whole different route. So when you're taking the
bubbly briefcase.
When you have the briefcase, the mag,
right?
It's got all the film on the left side.
Yeah.
Of the mag.
Well,
and then it comes out and then it goes back in.
9 and 9p. Yeah.
9, yeah. That's in reference to, oh man, this is
We went over so many terms in this first
know.
episode. It was like, ugh. But it's also, it's good. I mean, this is how we talk. We talk in a different language sometimes.
Yeah, the 99 and 9p is in reference to the direction which the film. So if you take a roll of film and you take the tail end of it and pull it down, you can make a 9 or you can make a P.
Right.
And that's just telling you, as a loader, you have to put the film into the mag in a 9 configuration and then put it through the little teeth, come back out, and then on the outside of the mag, feed it back through, and then attach it to the take-up side. And it's either going to make a 9 or it's going to make a P.
I'm going to draw it
on the take-up side. So the take-up side is all the exposed film. Yeah, Aaron's drawing a picture of
the
9P,
2 different versions of the mags.
and he's going to show it to the GoPro that we're recording. That's going to go up on the YouTube channel at some point.
9p is Panavision, right?
99 is Panavision.
Oh my gosh. I just failed
You did.
the loader test.
So yeah, anyways, that's a mag. That's what threading a mag is. And then flashing a mag is when you do all that. It can be exposed, it can be unexposed, but when you flash a mag, it's when you have allowed light into that magazine.
So for the people who are using their eyeballs, Airy is 9p on the top. That's the threading diagram, and then Panavision is 99. So that's what we're referring to when we say all that stuff. 9p.
Yeah.
99.
What else do we need to go over? That took 10 minutes.
I know.
We can go. We can move on.
We're so slow. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, we said flashing a mag,
knows.
darkroom. No, camera truck. Camera truck is the truck. I mean, every department has their own truck on a set.
Yeah, but it's really important, right? The camera truck is like it's the home base for the equipment on set. So
yeah, and
gotta take care of it. Got to know where everything is.
Right, because as a loader, you are on that truck. Right. Not all the time, but you're on that truck most of the time, I guess, or more than everyone else in your department. Right. And so when they say, go grab the lambda head or the thing or the whatever, you as a loader are responsible for knowing where that is. That truck is your truck and you are the keeper of it.
Yep. Camera prep. We did talk about that in a recent episode, so maybe we don't need to go over that too much. But you have to prep all the gear, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, you do.
Film. I wanted the difference between a prep with film versus a prep with digital.
That's true.
Because the loader is a big part of that,
I'll
right?
play producer, Aaron. Hey, we're gonna have a shoot, and it starts tomorrow morning. We'll see you there.
Okay, what are we shooting on?
We're gonna shoot on, I don't know, I'm not sure. It's coming from another rental house, but it'll be there the morning of.
You don't know the camera?
No, I don't.
You don't know how we're going to record?
Nope. We called the rental house and we said we're shooting tomorrow.
Which rental house did you call?
I'm not sure, but
these are going really well.
These are a lot of questions that you're asking. We don't need to get into it. Just show up tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And just be ready to start rolling the
How
camera.
How do you know you need me? Sounds like you got it all tried, under control there.
Yeah, I tried not to get you on, but the DP was really insistent on that. So
I'll just stay home then. You know what? I actually have a prep I got to do tomorrow, so I'm going to do that instead.
Well, the point of all this, right, is that...
Two can play at this game, Danny. Producer Danny. No, ultimately, if the producer says we don't need all of that, you still have to find out, like, what are we going through? What exactly are we dealing with? What's the camera? What's the recording medium? How are we going to make sure that we can go through the entire process without a hitch? Because if say the producer's like, oh, we're shooting with an Airy camera. Okay, great. What film stock are we using? What's the you have to know based on the camera what else is going to be necessary.
Yeah.
And so you kind of start building based on what you know and then fill in the gaps for what you know you need to achieve your day, right?
Yeah.
So if the camera is film, there's a lot of things that you need to figure out before you show up. So if the producer's saying, hey, tomorrow, well, we got to do a lot of stuff before tomorrow. We need to make sure that our camera has enough magazines. We need to make sure that because it's not like having, I don't know what, 6 cards or something for an HD camera. For a film camera, 6 mags might be fine, but what if you're flipping between daylight and tungsten stocks all day long from scene to scene back and forth? If you're going from one stock to the other, you're basically changing your color balance by an incredible amount of temperature. And if you don't have the right filtration to balance that to match, then or even light to affect the difference in stop exposure compensation too, then you're going to run into a problem where half of your mags are loaded one way and half of them are loaded another way. So if the producer's like, we're going back and forth between this stock and this stock, then we might need twice as many magazines for film as we would for HD, simply because we got to be ready for both options.
Right. And then they might.
So there's all kinds of details, but then you need to scratch test all those mags, right?
Right.
Make sure that when you run film through it, it's not, the magazine itself isn't scratching the film.
Right.
You also have to do a registration test. I don't know if the loader would be involved in that, but you would do a registration test, right, to make sure that the movement is holding the film properly in the gate and not pushing it in different places every time.
Right.
So there's more to it. It's not like, the camera, the DP has their own camera and they'll take care of it.
Right. Well, and
they do say that sometimes.
I think a lot of people don't understand the fact that there is a facility and a place to do prep.
Sure.
Yes, you can go rent a camera and you can pick it up the minute you've finalized the paperwork on that rental.
Right.
But
like you're picking up a camera from Sammy's Camera.
Yeah, but the way that this industry works is, like you said, there's all these different questions that need to be answered, and once we know the answers to that, then we have to prepare that camera specifically for all those conditions, and a place like Keslow or Panavision or Old Fast Glass, even these smaller boutique rental houses, they all have these bays. And in that bay, you have all the gear that you've ordered on that rental, and then you have a camera assistant that comes in and starts to check the tripods to make sure they work and the head, and then turns the camera on, make sure it works properly, and then they take their lenses and make sure that the focus is accurate to the markings on the lens, and they go through all these steps, just to make sure that everything's in tip-top shape.
This is all before shipping out, way before the show, before you're shooting.
And some shows can prep for a day, and some shows can prep for weeks, even months.
Right.
Just because, I guess with the ones that are taking much longer, there's a lot of camera tests involved and makeup tests and that they all go through. So.
Yep.
There's an actual facility. When you are ordering from a rental house with the size of Panavision or Keslow, you are going there physically to prepare for the shoot and then load it up in a truck and then,
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that has to happen that you don't necessarily see.
Yeah.
You see when it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Like, why don't we have this simple piece of equipment?
Right. Well,
because we didn't put it all together, and we didn't know that we needed that one simple piece of equipment.
And
because you have to actually put things together.
Yeah.
To realize you're missing an iris rod or something.
Right. And it's so way more common than people think, because there's and this is not to say that I don't want to downplay actors or anything, but actors want to sometimes direct.
Right.
So.
And sometimes they're great at it.
So they'll do their short film and they'll say, "Hey, Aaron, I want you to shoot this short film that I'm going to direct, and I'm putting all my money into it." And but they have no idea that a camera prep is involved. So it's like the second that you go, and they might say it in a naive way, and not to be mean, but they'll say, well, it's such a small job. I don't think we need that.
Right. Do we need all that? It's security though. It's insurance.
It is. But it's just a fact of production that is overlooked and not thought about so often that and then sometimes you're on set and you're like, hey, remember when I was telling you about camera prep and I know you didn't have the money, but
this is what we would have solved in that
we should
time.
have known. We should have known about this ahead of time. And
it's a rehearsal, right?
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
We have this issue on set right now, and it wouldn't be an issue if we would have prepped or whatever.
Yeah, it's an opportunity to kind of try to do the thing before you do the thing. Because if you're trying to do the thing and it's not working, then you know you need X, Y, Z to figure out how to do the thing.
Right.
But if you haven't done it and you're first trying it out on the day, you start to feel that pressure of that stress of like, oh, we're trying to solve a problem that has nothing to do with the scene that we're trying to shoot.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You feel the pressure of like, well, we scheduled 7 scenes.
Yeah.
And right now we're working on solving a technical problem that would happen during a prep. And you solve it there.
Yeah.
And it's not a good way to start your day.
Yeah. You'd much rather spend your time working on the scene that you have scheduled for the day, not the 5-inch iris rod that's missing.
Exactly. So I feel like ADs are probably really sensitive to how important preps are. Let's see. Threading the camera. Okay, so where are we in this whole thing?
I don't know. Do you know K2? How do you know her?
Well, in the episode, we kind of had an epiphany and remembered that I think I met her or saw her at Panavision way back.
Right.
And that might have been the first and only time that I met her. But then we met again in the interview, and it was awesome. She's great. Another thing that I wanted to talk about that we talk about in that episode is the where is it? Oh, she mentions Baird Steptoe as one of her mentors, and he was at Panavision when I was there. We were there.
Yeah. Oh, he was there. Well, he wasn't there.
I remember seeing him and being impressed by an assistant of his caliber coming through. But he is now the local 600 president, isn't that right?
Correct.
So I figured I should shout that out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Local 600 is the
there you go. Exactly.
Camera department.
Local 600. Do you want to talk about what that is?
I don't know why they give them numbers. I've never questioned it, but our union is under the umbrella of IATSE, I hope I get this right, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employers.
Wow.
Employees.
That was really good. I'm not even going to question that you got that right. It sounds right.
So under IATSE, there are 13 locals. One of them is 600. That's camera. And there's 12 others, which are all crew unions, and they're governed. Am I going to say this right? They are governed by IATSE, but each local has a president and their own governance within it, and
like states. I don't know. Anyway,
we won't talk too much about that because it's really too political.
But seconding, we should. I mean, seconding. Like if you just say seconding, what is it? Seconding what? Oh yes, I'll have another.
Yeah. Okay. So we mentioned the loader position.
Yeah.
I think
going up that loader ladder
from the loader, the second AC would be next on the hierarchy. If you were to move up in the company of a corporation, second AC would be the next step for you.
Right. And second assistant cameraman or camera woman. First assistant camera person is the head of the department or the head of that camera. Is better way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Head of that camera, but then the A first is the head of the department.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that gets tricky, though,
I know,
too.
I'm just trying to spell it all out. So it's context.
But after, above first AC would be?
Operator. And then above the operator?
It's the director of photography.
And that's that DP term we keep throwing out like it's nothing. It's director of photography. There's an O in there, too. The British say DOP. They're very, very good about getting all the letters. We just skip right over like it's nothing.
It's not even like it's barely a word.
Of?
Yeah.
It's important.
It is, but I mean,
it gives you context and point of reference.
I think we should change the rules of the English language to be like to be considered a word has to be 4 letters or more.
It has to be 4 letters or more. Everything under 4 letters isn't a word.
Nah.
Wow. That's a hard rule.
I mean,
A lot of words is falling off.
if you want to be efficient, I'm not saying you exclude them from the language. I'm just saying terms of making them a word.
Okay, well, Danny's language is going to be hard to communicate with, but we'll do it. So seconding is the second AC. When somebody says I'm seconding, or sometimes I second, they mean I'm a second assistant. So I'm the assistant to the assistant, and the first assistant is the person pulling focus and basically in charge of the camera. Like if the camera has an issue, the first AC is the person who's dealing with it.
Mostly.
Yeah.
But what are the second AC's responsibilities? If you make a list.
The most obvious one that we all see, I think, is the slate, right? They're clapping the slate that shows the information, but also shows the moment that we're going to sync the visual of the slate closing with the sound that it's making, so they can connect them later, sound and video.
Yeah, they usually retrieve the lens.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
They're getting the lens when the director of photography says, we got to go tighter, let's get a tighter lens. So from the 50 to 100.
Yeah. And then they hand off, and then they go to the thing.
Wacky woogie.
The wacky woogie, for surveillance, and then they, the second AC grabs the lens and then hands off the lens. Should we show how you properly hand off a lens?
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be good because this is a 360 video.
Yeah. Ready? Go.
You can control. Never mind. Here you go. So I have the lens. I'm the second AC. You're the first. Here you go, sir. Nice. That was good. Oh, you actually. We forgot. Well, there's 2 lenses involved in that swap. Okay.
Yeah, because I've got a lens that I'm giving to you. I'm pulling it off the camera.
Yeah, here we go.
I give you a lens.
Nice. That was smooth. Let me ask you a question.
They're usually a lot heavier than a water bottle.
Let me ask you a question.
And more expensive.
Are you saying got it?
Oh, no.
I don't either.
No, I feel the weight of it. And I feel that somebody's taking the weight of it.
Yeah. So...
Otherwise,
this is a controversial issue, right?
Is bloop long enough for to be in your language?
So the got it is in reference to. Let's do it again, Aaron.
All right, ready?
For the video people, we do this got it to tell you that I had the lens.
Yeah, I've never done that.
And
because sometimes the plane flies over and nobody can hear you.
I don't like it either. I don't know what it is about it, but I just don't like to say got it. I like what you said. It's like we're in this moment. We know what to do here. You're grabbing it out of my hand. The weight is leaving, and that's the other thing too. Is like you, not to make this a masterclass, but you take it from me.
Correct.
I'm not like flopping it in your hand. You're taking the weight out of me. I'm taking the weight away from you.
Yep.
Right? And I'm telling you with my force of removing it from your hand that I've got it.
Yeah, but also, this is, we're going to start getting into the details here, but how do you hand off the lens? You're handing it off in a way that when they receive it, it goes straight to the camera.
Exactly.
So,
yes.
So this might not be as critical for primes, right? Prime lenses. But a zoom lens, a really heavy zoom lens can be like, 35 pounds?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Yeah, that's a little heavy.
But 25 pounds?
Yeah. 12? 13?
20 pounds?
Heavy
like an
enough.
11 to 1 or no, the bigger. An ingenue freaking... Those things are like 25 pounds.
You may be right.
So if you're handing off a lens that's that heavy, the last thing you want to do when you give it to somebody is for them to have to kind of shuffle it and like get it to the right angle to put it into the camera.
Yeah.
So you hand it to the camera assistant in the orientation that when they receive it, they don't have to move anything.
Right.
They've now just put it straight onto the camera.
Right. Yeah.
and
Huge.
it's exactly
Details.
the way that it should go.
This went from recap to.
I know.
Can you hand me the lens display, please?
Talking about the whole camera department.
No, that's a huge. But
It's
that's
good, though.
huge. That's
Yeah,
a huge.
it's good.
I mean, that's just a tip.
We're just being
for
nerdy.
anybody.
Just nerds.
Yeah. Should we go to the next episode?
You don't know. What time is it?
It's like 30 minutes.
Well, I love how K2 talks about home movies and stuff. I feel like that's something that I can really relate to, and I'm like thinking about how we all kind of grew up with these like just different cameras, like different. She mentioned like mini DV and high 8, and I was just kind of like giddy because I'm like, yeah, and these are formats that are being like kind of becoming obsolete.
Yeah, or if they're not already.
But they're also formats that inspired us, helped us visualize and create our own movies and tell our own stories. VHS, SVHS, the things that are like laughable at a certain point, but they were the standard. They were the thing. And if you wanted a camera, you were buying like the best version of a format that we all consider to be garbage now.
Yeah.
But you were stoked because it was the best at the time.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like that's kind of similar to the apps now, right? We have all these different apps and filters and weird things, but they're all kind of like stepping stones to get to new things. Like, not necessarily. Some of them become big things, but like, I don't know. I feel like there are apps that end up kind of disappearing, and some of their effects or some of the ways that they kind of help us see the world, it still matters. It's still part of the way that we get to where we go. IMAX, you mentioned. I mean, people know what IMAX is. It's the big negative, big film negative that you're using. It's the biggest film negative you can expose to in a camera,
which is
larger than 65 millimeter,
which allows you to project it onto a larger screen, which is what those
greater
that's how they
clarity and
market those
resolution,
giant movies.
And then 3perf. You want to mention what 3perf is?
Perforators.
Oh, we mentioned the holes in the film, the perfs.
Well, okay, yeah. So the hole that the claw pulls the film down. So those are called perfs.
And you could have a academy for perf.
Yeah. So that would be
3 or 2.
So 4perf is kind of a measurement of size, I guess.
Right.
So 4perf of a
vertical frame size
is trying to. Yeah.
It's all when you're dealing with different perforation.
Try not to get in the weeds too much, but
less than 4 is all going to be spherical, right? I mean,
but
4perf is academy. That's what you need for anamorphic.
Yeah.
Can they project anamorphic lenses to something smaller than 4perf, like 3perf? Is that something? Is that a
totally?
thing?
I mean, well, yeah, you could.
But it's just changing your squeeze and
there's
all kinds of weird stuff we could talk about related to that. But that's film.
But when shooting 4perf, you're shooting the largest portion of that frame on film, and then 3perf you're shooting a little less, obviously, and then 2perf you're shooting. You're actually restricted to shooting a 240, which is an anamorphic
perspective
frame, but not necessarily anamorphic.
Oh, you're right. It's not the perspective.
Although you
anamorphic,
could the frame,
but not perspective.
Frame, the ratio.
You're right.
But shooting less perfs saves you money.
Right.
Because you're able to squeeze more frames onto 1,000 feet of film.
So a loader has to make more changes.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
With 4perf than they do with 2perf, right? 2perf you can shoot a lot longer.
Exactly.
Fewer mag changes.
K2 actually mentioned that. She said, she was like, what is it, 11 minutes or something? Yeah. So I think 4perf is 11 minutes, 3perf is 15 and 20, and then 2perf is 22.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And we already went over the mag jam we didn't mention, actually. I mean, sometimes she mentions mag jamming.
Mm-hmm.
A jam just means that instead of the film flowing smoothly through the camera at 24 frames per second, as it's supposed to, something gets in the way. At some point, somewhere, something happens, and either the camera jams and it freezes up, or it blows a fuse, or who knows what happens.
Yeah.
But a camera jam is bad. It's always bad.
Right.
It's like an error today on a digital camera, and it's saying like, card error or mag error or something like that. You can't shoot. The mag jams, you can't shoot. You're not rolling.
Yeah.
So it's a bad thing. 9P99 we went over, and then Bob Richardson. I don't know.
She dropped a lot of
It's a big
names
name.
in that episode.
It's a big name.
Bob Richardson is a cinematographer. He was nominated for, what's the last thing that he did?
Everything. I don't know. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Did you do that?
Oh yeah, that's it.
So yeah,
Did a lot of Quentin
movies,
Tarantino movies.
Big movies.
Hateful Eight.
Yeah. Well, should we talk about the next episode? That's K2's episode, but the second episode we're going to recap is
Ryan Guzgel.
Ryan Guzgel. And Ryan is a live focus puller, which involves a lot more than just focus pulling. Focus puller is another term we use. It's actually a more British term, right?
Oh, I don't know.
We use to describe the camera assistant, the first AC,
Right.
the person that we were saying is responsible for the camera.
Yeah, so focus puller, first AC is the same person.
Yeah. Two names for the same.
We don't have any notes written for this episode.
Yeah, I know. I didn't write anything at all.
Well, I appreciate your notes, Aaron. I didn't.
We do
I
have
didn't
producer notes.
I didn't participate in the note giving at all. But
We have some notes.
But you know what, Kimmy had you find him and I'll keep talking. Kimmy had mentioned that she enjoyed this episode, and I was a little surprised because K2's episode was pretty good and chocked full of like name dropping and her experiences on these giant movies. I thought that would be more interesting to listen to, right?
Sure.
But Kimmy was saying, she's like, no, I think Ryan's perspective was more interesting to her, which is a good thing
everybody's
because
interesting for different reasons. So.
Yeah, but I like that this podcast is at least hitting, is engaging people on different levels, in different ways.
Even though
it's a
we're
good
all
sign.
Coming from the film, TV kind of world of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ryan was fun because he starts off talking about war photography, and I thought that was interesting because you also kind of came from a background of photojournalism, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
At first, yeah.
Yeah. But did you ever consider going to
to war?
No, just to like a dangerous environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got excited about it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
No, it's like an essential part of the media is to be able to communicate what's happening in the dangerous places and places where people are afraid to go.
Yeah. And I love the idea of going to those dangerous places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I don't know. Well, personal little side story. I did a little project in Ethiopia, and I remember one night leaving the hotel and like paying somebody $10 American to just walk with me and protect me as I went around and took pictures of this neighborhood that was like, pretty third world.
Was that just were you just I need this, or did somebody recommend you do that?
No, they were telling me not to do it, obviously.
No. I mean, having somebody with you.
Oh, having somebody with me. I think that was just me thinking like that would be a smart idea.
Okay.
But
you were
great.
encouraged not to do it at all?
I got some great photos because, I immersed myself into this environment that I haven't seen before.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people see often. But I remember thinking like, this is a dangerous position to be in. I shouldn't be doing this, but my adrenaline was going, and I wasn't afraid of it.
Do you have does it feel like being backstage a little bit? Like everybody knows I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm carrying a red flag.
Yes.
Which is the camera, right? You're always, whenever you're carrying a camera somewhere, you shouldn't necessarily be. I think,
yeah.
You're kind of like saying, hey.
Yeah, well, there's definitely that. But I just get excited about being in a place where I can, in my mind, I'm thinking like, no one else wants to be here. Mm-hmm. many Americans may not have been in this neighborhood before, but here I am.
Right.
And I want to document it. I want to see it. And just the thought of being one of the few
Right.
is exciting.
Right.
You know, and I think that would go into like being a photojournalist in war or whatever, any other dangerous situation.
Well, that would be pretty crazy. I mean, I think working on live stuff is definitely safer and definitely still incorporates some of the reaction and like necessity of being super aware of what's going on, super aware of your surroundings, and understanding like what can go wrong.
Yeah,
because that's a big part of anything we're doing is like, oh, we got to anticipate where there's going to be failure. And live, you have to, because you only get one take, right? So you're committing to the idea that you're only going to do it once. It's not like, oh, well, I mean, sometimes some live shows you get multiple days or something, but usually you're still trying to get something unique, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen exactly.
Yeah.
So trying to stay flexible, but also anticipating problems before they arise.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, if this doesn't work out, we got to have a way to bail us out,
right,
in this live situation, which is more so on the director, you know, the board switcher or whatever.
Right.
Well, he talked about Hallmark movies.
Yeah, he did, and we both worked on those.
Yeah, which for those who don't know, Hallmark is a great way to get started in the industry because it's non-union.
Or it has been traditionally speaking.
Traditionally, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on right now, but
they're fairly low budget, so you know the entry level should be the bar should be a little lower,
right?
And it's a place for you to learn. And yeah, we've done a couple, and they shoot a ton of them.
Yeah, and Hallmark,
super fast.
Hallmark was a big part of how I got the experience I did when I did, because I think I did like 7 features in a matter of 6 months or something.
Yeah,
I mean it's crazy. A whirlwind. Yeah, you get into some bad habits maybe because you're doing the same things with the same people over and over, but it's a great training ground. It's a great way to learn. Mm-hmm. I mean, I saw it as my third college. I went to film school, and then I went to Panavision, and then I went to Hallmark.
Yeah.
And dude, I did some of the worst Steadicam shots on Hallmark. Oh my gosh.
Great. Awesome.
I remember I was working for a great director, Eric LaSalle, and we did a shot, and he's like, "You gonna put your name on that?" And I'm like, "That's the best I got right now."
Oh wow!
It was so bad. I'm just like, dude, I can't. Yeah, he did, but he was right to, because I was like, I'm here because it's a safe space, Eric. But honestly, you know, it's a great way to kind of take some risks.
But you wouldn't say no. You wouldn't have a rig and be working on a show and say, "I'm not ready for it." I mean, there's maybe a balance.
At the time I was being asked to do a longer lens than I had ever done. And I was like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Now I can do that shot.
Yeah. At
the time I thought it was insane.
It's tricky
but it was one of my first opportunities, you know, and you're just like, yeah, let's try it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of good shots. There's a few bad ones.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know. But you're gonna be faced with those situations, and I don't know. Do you go no, or do you say yes? I think it's split. The room's split down the middle for that.
My name's on some bad shots. That's all I'm saying. And I just have to admit it, because like, you know, a big part of what we do is we're learning on the job, and it's kind of the only way to learn sometimes. Yeah. I mean, learning the wheels, like. How often do you get to actually operate a shot, mess it up 17 times, and then go, okay, I think I got it on the 18th? You don't.
Yeah.
So if you're on the wheels for the first time and you're learning on the job, on set, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things where if you have to learn it on the job, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes, and you're going to be embarrassed. So kind of getting used to how to, I don't know, see the rehearsals before that's important. To me, that's what Hallmark was.
Yeah.
It was like a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Let me do my best, knowing that it's not that good yet.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, that's Hallmark for me. But I think one of the cool things that Ryan did talk about in his episode was just the technical side of things and like how, I mean, he talks about starting out in pharmaceuticals, you know, like it's so technical and it's like, oh my gosh, you're talking about biochemistry. Like this is a really, really complicated technical field that he was pursuing. And I would say it's probably more complicated than what we're doing, but I just feel like we keep meeting people who do have that mind, that have this, you know, kind of like fearlessness to take on certain things that are just really, really daunting and really, really elaborate concepts. And yeah, let's go for it. Let's do it. Yeah, because he talks about the first time he did a live show and what it took to kind of like get up to speed. And I mean, it's scary. Like you've done live stuff, right? It's, if you don't know what you're doing and you're not even getting that much information. Yeah. It's a lot to kind of be able to imagine what you're going to be dealing with a crowd coming in later. That's the thing. When you're setting up a live event, you have this massive warehouse or whatever, you have a massive space, a stadium, whatever it is, and nobody's there yet. Yeah. Everything changes when everybody shows up. Everything changes when the stadium starts to, you know, vibrate because of the amount of people and weight. Everything changes when the heads are blocking the view that you thought would be clear. Everything changes when you're planning to do a move and it gets shortened, and now you have to give the same sense of that move to your director that you promised was going to be so sweeping. Cool, bro. It was going to be so cool. Because like live changes all that when everybody shows up and you go, oh, I have to re-solve all the problems that I already solved, and there's no more time. And we're going. Like it is a big factor. You got to know what you're doing.
I remember I had when I was in school, I had an opportunity to operate on a live football game. Like it was a small school, but this broadcast company, I don't know, they would always televise one game. Yeah. So the cameras came out, and then they would recruit kids from the, you know, audio, video, whatever program they had. And I remember I was on a Condor. I was behind the field goal, which is actually pretty low pressure because it's like, okay, when there's a field goal, you're going to go to this size frame, and then everything else is bonus, right? Yeah. So I was in a bonus position, and I think I was on the coach or something, and they were talking about the coach, and I panned away because I didn't know I was on. I didn't know. I didn't know my shot was live. Right. And I was like, I got the coach here, and I should have known because I can hear the commentators talking, and I'm. But
you didn't have anybody saying you're live or a tally light.
They totally did. I was just inexperienced. Yeah. I think I was 20 years old.
Usually there's a little red light that tells you you're live.
Actually, you didn't have that. The red lights were actually not working. Oh boy. I remember that now. So this makes sense. But yeah, I forgot that I was live, and I panned away, and the director in my ear is just like, what are you doing, number 4? And just cussing at me. And like, I felt horrible. But I mean, that was like my first experience in that position, and I was nervous. And then sure enough, I failed in one of those moments.
But it's funny too, because it's like that director had so much trust in this operator. Well, I'm serious. You have to.
You have to. Yeah, exactly.
Because you're looking at a frame and you're like, this is what I need. I'm going to go to it. And you take it. Yeah. And then the camera pans away because you've got a high schooler up in a Condor. Yeah. I'm serious. College. No tally. But either way, it's just like you're only as good as your operators, right?
Yeah,
like you're only as good as like.
There's a vulnerable moment where you hand it off to somebody every single take, right? You're like, I'm handing it off to this person. All eyes are on this right now. We all worked up to this, but it's on you to hold that frame.
Dude, because it happens with live all the time where you're like holding a shot and you're like, yeah, this is great. And then right when they cut to you, the guitarist stops playing and he goes... and you're like, whoa, that was a really bad shot. Yeah. Because you can't control it. Yeah. You gotta get them when they're shredding. Otherwise, they might take a break right when you cut. It's hard. Live is hard.
Yeah. Let's go to Ben's episode.
Wait, really? Are we done?
Yeah,
now?
we're like
We didn't
50
even talk
minutes
about
in.
drum sets and woodworking. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in that episode.
Yeah, they can
He's on
listen to
Etsy
it.
with his woodworking. I mean, we didn't even talk about the woodworking. How long is this bonus or this
50
recap?
minutes.
We're already at 50 minutes?
5-0.
Okay, I guess I can talk. Anyway,
Ryan
let's
makes
skip
wood.
over the woodworking. Skip right over the woodworking.
It's okay.
No, you're
It's
right,
okay.
right. We got to talk about the third episode.
They
There's
can
a lot
go to
talk
that
about.
episode if they want.
So that's episode 2. It's good.
I just want to talk about Ben because Ben.
What's it called though? The episode it was called
Ben Grieve. It was
live focus Deadwood. That's a good one. Okay,
That was
on to
Ryan's.
the third one. Yeah,
Yeah.
On to the third episode.
Here now, have no fear. What is it?
It's third episode with Ben Greaves, and it's called Listen
Listen
Here and Have No Fear.
Listen near.
Listen here
Listen
and have no
here.
fear.
That's
So,
it.
because there's a difference between listening and hearing.
Yeah.
But
Listen here and have no fear.
there is, Well, what we talked about, I don't even remember if we articulated the name of this movie other than what Ben said, but The Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
We talk about the zone of interest in
Still
that
talk
episode.
about it today.
It's really good. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
Great movie, but not a movie to be entered into lightly. I think it's actually really fantastic that we saw it in the theater. We described that, but we talk about the fact that it's a movie that you want to see in the theater if you can, or at least in a good space where you control it and watch it all the way through.
Yes. I got into a friendly argument with somebody about they didn't like it.
That's fine.
And that's totally fine. But that argument made me realize that this movie, it did take in a different type of approach. His argument was that nothing happened in the end, and there were no problems. That was his thing. There's no
conflict in the story.
There's no conflict in the story. But then I'm sitting there thinking like, oh,
it's all internal conflict.
But the problem is the fact that Auschwitz is in the background the whole time, and no one.
It's me.
No one,
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. It's like the problem is spiritual, right?
Nobody says it. Nobody. No character ever acknowledges an Auschwitz prisoner.
Right.
And even when they do, they don't even talk about them by name or they don't even say that they're people. Remember the scene where they've found a way to this is gross talking about.
We're spoiling.
We are
spoilers.
spoiling in it. Okay, all right.
Warning,
I won't be specific.
We're not spoiling our episode, but we're spoiling a movie.
there's a scene where they talk about these people, but they don't even call them people. It's like
hard
units.
to watch.
They're calling them. They're
dark.
talking about them as units, and like, oof. So, anyways, when you watch
Pretty
it,
dark,
you'll
but
see
it's
it.
also very important, I think, because film is doing something that no other medium can do, right? It's a song is a song, and you can put a song into a movie, and it can become more powerful. Arguably, all of this is arguable.
Yeah,
but like a film is showing you things that can have greater meaning than what they are on the surface, and I think what's cool about that movie in particular is that it's using cinema to explore internal human spiritual conflict, yes, but positions, like characters putting themselves into turning themselves into knots internally, in order to balance conflict.
Yeah.
So there might not be a lot of conflict, visually,
Right.
audibly, there is.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I would argue that one.
Yeah.
But like when you're talking about a movie itself, you're talking about something subconscious by the nature of a perspective being kind of affected, right? Like you have your perspective from across the table right now. I have my perspective. Somebody watching this has a 360 perspective, right? But like to actually say my perspective is affected in these ways as through a movie. It's affected by music. I'm feeling something emotionally because of the music, maybe. It's affected by the way the cinematography is visually distorting the field of view. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's all affected. And we're watching an affected version of something to enhance and to say there's more here. There's something else. Not just what it looks like on the surface, but there's something deeper. There's a deeper meaning behind it.
Totally. And what a great movie to pair up with Ben Greaves, who's very much about social justice.
Yep.
Treating people right.
Yep.
Treating people or giving people equal opportunity.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was really appreciative of how he, talks about people of color in the industry, and he kind of says, like, I don't care about the color of their skin. He wants to make them a great craftsman, and like, I think that can, I don't know, it kind of flirts with a dangerous territory a little bit, and he could get into trouble a little bit with that, and I don't know. I appreciate his boldness and
it's
totally
a risk. It's a
yeah.
risk to.
I mean, there are producers and people who are hiring that are totally just going to say, like, listen, we need someone of color, and like, okay,
checking the box. Yeah.
Checking the box, like, okay, great. Hiring people of color, that's a great thing, but at the same time, it's like when Ben said it the way he said it, I was like, oh my gosh. It's they're hiring because of the color of their skin.
Yeah,
and they have no interest in making a progressive move to give people of color agency
and actual opportunity
and real opportunity to like grow and make money and start a career. And anyways, I don't know.
He's passionate about mentorship in a way that I think is a risk. Let me put it that way, because there's a lot of people who are passionate about mentorship, and you can train somebody that you know well, and somebody you're familiar with, and somebody who's part of your family, somebody who's a friend of yours. Great. Or you can train somebody who is outside of your circle and try to expand those circles. And I think Ben's doing that in a great way.
Yeah, in a great way. Totally.
But we also, what did we talk about? We talked about kind of the idea of making sure that we have a network and like a system, not just individual mentors.
Yeah.
He's talking in this episode about how important it is to use the tools that we have, right? And expand on the tools that we have. So that we can continue to expand the network to include more people of color, to expand the network to include more people in general.
Yeah.
People who have been excluded from this industry historically.
Yeah.
So I think recognizing the tools that exist, trying to use them the way that they were designed in order to include and incorporate more and more people is the right approach.
Yeah.
And he's trying to inspire more of that. So I think that's something
and
to get excited about.
Really great advice to people like you and me, where what did we ask him? How can we help this movement? And he said he did say reach out to your local, like try to create an apprenticeship of some sort, and that allows for people of color and women and any minority to have an opportunity. But then he ends it with
an opportunity that's like going to help them be successful too, not just an opportunity to kind of get in over your head.
But he says that at the end. He says, "But you may have to do it by yourself,"
right?
Which is just saying the individual has to, if you want change, then you have to go make an individual change.
Right.
Stop asking what
an organization to do it for you.
What can an organization do? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. What else?
And organizations are people, So
Failing
it's important
upwards?
to
That's a good
put it
note.
together. I feel like we kind of covered that one.
Yeah.
But it's a good episode. It's definitely great to hear from somebody who also has a very different background than I do. Not just being British or whatever, but like having a different background in sound. I have. We're doing a podcast. Obviously, we appreciate sound, but to perfect your craft, to care about things and to get into the details, to know how important those details are and why you want to continue to share them with other people and hand them on so that they can continue to bless humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
I think that's something that was really inspiring about this episode, because it's like, yes, this is somebody who's as passionate about sound as Danny and I are about video, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's cool to hear those details and those subtle things that are really important to somebody who's in a different world than you are, in a sense.
Well, and we touched on this too, is like, he's not just pointing the microphone in the right direction to technically get the words from the actor's mouth. He's like involved in the story.
Right,
He's like,
yeah.
how am I going to, how do I dance around this? Like, what's the I don't know. What should it sound like in this scene? I'm putting words into his mouth, but that's where his brain is at. He's thinking about the story, not just the technical, like, let's make sure the words are on tape, file, whatever.
Yeah. He says something about the sound, the boom operator having like a special privilege, which is really such a cool perspective. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like this, we are all abstracting our perspective of what's happening on set, except for the boom operator.
Yeah.
The boom operator is directly connected.
Yeah.
He's visually seeing the lips move. Nobody else is doing that. We're all looking through a camera. It was such I mean, he's got a great perspective on the art form of it.
He's the guy at the concert not recording it on his phone.
Yeah, he's the one who doesn't have the iPad up.
Yeah. He's taking it all in.
I love that.
Aaron, we hit 1 hour.
Perfect.
Right on that.
Yeah, that's what we're going for.
Should we end it?
1 hour of just constant talking and drivel of nothingness.
I think we did good. We started really technical and we recapped a lot of words and terms, and then we just kind of dug into a little deeper on the other two. I liked it. It was a good recap.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us for this recap. It is not live. Sorry, but it's live to tape, so we're not taking any of these awkward, embarrassing things that we're doing out of it.
It's real. It's raw.
It's raw.
All right. Head on over to the next episode, I guess.
Yeah. So we got 3 good episodes that we just talked about that you can go check out. Climbing the Loader Ladder, Live Focus Deadwood, and Listen Here and Have No Fear. They're great episodes. Go check them out if you haven't heard them. But we'll have another episode every Tuesday as usual, and these recaps will be out as well every 3 episodes or so.
Yeah. All right, guys. See ya.
Bye.